But what it would do is, if for certain transactions, establish a 1% fee. And what people need to understand, while this is a charge on real estate transactions, if you're an owner-occupied, a homeowner who's selling, or someone's going to buy and occupy that home, you would be exempted from that charge. This is a targeted measure on speculation. So here in the city, we've done a lot of great things to lead the charge against for affordable housing, to take on the crisis. We've expanded the inclusionary section of the zoning ordinance to 20%. We've increased the amount of linkage payments developers must pay towards affordable housing. But that's for really big projects or larger housing projects in neighborhoods. But when speculators come in and buy homes and flip 2 and 3 families to condos, we really don't have those tools. We can extract money to reinvest back into our city to preserve affordable housing opportunities on our streets. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to maintain the soul of this community as we grow and prosper. The transfer fee would garner revenue for the community that we can invest for the production or preservation of housing. There are different examples, like the 100 Homes program, which is a partnership between the Somerville Community Corporation, our local CDC in the city, where we've used outside financing in city and city resources and other grant monies to purchase housing stock at fair market value in this community and maintain that permanently affordable. So it's a way of subsidizing the city's efforts or the efforts to maintain housing stock, because if we don't gain control of some of the housing stock in our neighborhoods, on those streets where I live and you live, we will be gated. We're meeting a lot of our production goals in the transformative areas from Assembly Square down to Union Square, but we want to also preserve what we have in our neighborhoods and the character and soul of those neighborhoods.
Precisely.
And we're not trying to slow development. We're trying to leverage that development speculation towards a social good and community value that's important to all of us, that we've outlined as the people who live, work, play, raise their families, that this is important to us.
And then on to being the high land costs are an obstacle to developing and securing affordable housing for lower income families. One way to address this issue is to purchase a house without the land. And the Community Land Trust is one mechanism that allows this arrangement. And you spoke about a community-based independent housing land trust that can buy property and declare it permanently affordable. Elaborate for us, is this already something in practice or something you're working on? It's part of the 10-point plan.
Yeah, it's part of the plan, and we are in progress working with the Board of Aldermen and the community at large. And it's important to understand, it's a great opportunity for us to synchronize the transfer fee, the land trust, our efforts around tenants for right of first refusal to really, again, maintain what makes Somerville so unique, our diversity, our multicultural strength, our socioeconomic diversity, our diversity in housing stock. So that conversation will happen more likely in the fall with the Board of Aldermen. We've already begun that conversation with them in the community, and hopefully that measure will pass as well.
Yeah, it is such a process. Now, on to this really interesting, I was taking a look at Somerville, and it's really impressive, and it shows a variety of maps and sort of where you're enhancing and transforming and preserving, and it's very easy to read, and I love it. So could you walk us through that?
Sure. Well, Somerville, as you've mentioned, is a community-based comprehensive plan. Now, it doesn't only speak about what we want to accomplish in terms of what we build, but who we want to be. What are the values that guide us moving forward? And we, as a community, we've outlined our DNA. We've said these are the things that we believe in a community that should be an exceptional place to live, work, play, raise a family for everyone. Everyone should have that opportunity. And we outlined some pretty specific goals alongside, in pursuit of those values. We were going to build 6,000 units of housing, of which a significant portion will be permanently affordable. We're actually reviewing that to determine whether we should raise that number, create net new 30,000 jobs in this community, shift mobility trips, all new mobility trips by 50% to more biking, walking, public transportation, and a whole host of other goals. And the zoning that is proposed by the city, which will be a national model, helps us achieve more than 100 of the 500 plus goals in a summer vision. Today, the zoning we have now, and it's really been scaffolded, as I would say, built upon, sort of amended and per section. But for example, in our Residence A and Residence B portions of the city, there are only 22 conforming properties. Only 22 properties conform in the zoning. The new zoning will do a lot of things, help us accomplish our summer vision goals, achieve many of our affordable housing goals that are outlined in summer vision, help us achieve the street network and alignment we want to as a community, our open space goals, and also alleviate the burden on property owners. Because for many of the things they would want to do to their property, they won't have to hire a lawyer, spend thousands of dollars. They'll be able to have more predictable and transparent rules for some of the things they want to do to improve their properties. So it is an important piece of legislation. We've been at it now for a few years. This Board of Aldermen is digging deeper into it. We are getting closer. There's been hearings and meetings upon hearings and meetings, and there'll be more. And my hope is that we will pass this sometime this calendar year.
It's so lovely to see everyone working together.
It is really
intelligently.
Whatever happens in Somerville, and it should be in any community, is the product of everyone's hands.
Right.
This community has set out its values in Somerville, and they're playing a critical role in these major legislative debates around transfer fees and right of first refusal and many other things that are going to have an impact on everyone's lives here. Yeah. So it's so great to be part of this community with that. People are engaged and they're passionate about what we believe in.
So at inauguration you spoke of the failed federal policies around Big Pharma, how they have helped fuel an opioid crisis that ravages neighborhoods, our homes and our families. You also announced that Somerville will join the fight against Big Pharma in the courts. Is this something that's already in place, this class action lawsuit? If so, what other cities and towns around are involved?
If there's another crisis bigger than the housing crisis, is the opioid epidemic.
Yes.
In this community, region, Commonwealth, in this country. And this has been fueled and facilitated, perpetuated by the actions of Congress, and actions of lobbyists who formerly from the DEA working for Big Pharma helped change the rules that have fueled this crisis. And there's so many tragic stories that one way or another we're all connected to. Either someone in our family, someone we know or we care and love very much has been impacted. And we feel powerless at times, but this is an opportunity for communities to fight back because it impacts the well-being of everyone in our city. So Somerville has joined the fight for Big Pharma. We have representation that is offered to represent the city for free in other communities. And the Board of Aldermen, I believe just last evening, has approved our efforts on this, and we are joining what is called a multi-jurisdictional lawsuit against Big Pharma, which people will hear more about in the coming months.
Are there, if somebody is in Somerville and they're struggling, they have a family member, are there resources available in Somerville? And if so, how do we direct them to where to go to get help? Is there sort of any direction you can give?
They should really call here at the city. They can call our Somerville Cares About Prevention, our 311, our health department. We are working with a network of providers and resources. And these are sad, tragic stories we hear every day. And people feel helpless, and they shouldn't feel helpless. You're not alone. We've all felt this. We've all been impacted in this. And it's a time to stand side by side with the people part of our community to help them towards this period of recovery, and we've done things even in our police department where we treat addiction not as a crime, but as a health crisis,
as a disease.
As a disease, and it's a time for compassion for those who are suffering. We are taking, in terms of resources towards this effort, there are things we're trying to do with new resources coming to the city. For instance, revenues coming to the city for medical marijuana facilities here, which is a cause this community believes in. Reinvest that back into public health, prevention, and education. We have to deal with this, and it has to be a multi-pronged approach. It's as complex as the housing crisis. We want to take the fight on the Big Pharma, which is perpetuating this epidemic, and their efforts and their lobbying efforts in Washington are killing people. Two, we want to educate our young children and the public at large and make good choices and helping to understand and bring more resources to them. And thirdly, we want to bring resources to our first responders to help people who have succumbed to a drug overdose, and such as Narcan and other tools at our disposal. That's more at the back end. We have to invest so much more at the front end to prevent someone to get to that.
Oh,
to that
completely.
Crisis point.
Yeah, and it takes education, as you said. People just need to be aware, and teachers need to know how to look for signs, and families need support. And so it's good to hear that some of the taxes from the cannabis industry are going to be allotted and put toward that sector. You were quoted as saying that those of us in positions of leadership need to stand up for the people of this community on other critical issues too. Attempts are being made to slash healthcare, education, transportation funding, but Somerville's staying strong and putting together a really comprehensive plan, and I'm so happy to hear that and to be a part of this community. But Congress has just passed a tax scam that seeks to further enrich the wealthy and impoverish the poor in the midst of rising income equality. They want to deny climate change and abandon attempts to curb greenhouse gas emissions, as if somehow what happens to this planet won't affect everyone who lives on it. One of the questions is, what's your advice for those that want to become better leaders? But before we get to that leadership, talk a little bit about the energy efficiency.
Sure, I think what I love about this community is we lead with our values. So Somerville, we made a commitment and set a bold goal to be carbon neutral by 2050. And this community is working collaboratively together to understand how we set the framework and mechanisms in place to achieve that goal. And we led the conversation I did with the Metropolitan Mayors Coalition, which is the 15 mayors and CEOs of the 15 inner core communities, to establish a regional goal to be carbon neutral by 2050. We led the fight for divestment along with activists, advocates, leaders in our community, because the leadership comes from everyone.
Yes.
Not because you elected the mayor, but there are people who are active every day in advocating for this type of change in social value, to be free of divestment from fossil fuels. And we just spent a day at the State House last week to pass a home rule petition that allow our retirement board to divest funds from companies who are investing in fossil fuels.
That's great.
It's those type of measures, that type of activism, that the leadership we need, because as you stated, and you've quoted my words from my inauguration speech, there is a direct attack on our values as a free and democratic society, in a direct effort to dismantle our democracy. And democracy is just an ability to vote, but to pursue the values we believe in. So, attack on our environment, to attack the rights of women, the LGBTQ community, on immigrants, on refugees, and the things that make us unique as a free and democratic society, as a nation that's supposed to be diverse and tolerant. I mean, there's been a direct, succinct effort by this president and the Republican-led Congress against those values. So now's a time where the rest of the country needs communities like Somerville to lead that conversation.
Yes.
So when people say to me, well, why does Somerville have to be the first on a transfer fee? Because our values, I believe, are the values of this nation as a whole.
Yeah.
You know, why is Somerville staying steadfast to be a sanctuary city? One, because Somerville is something we believe in, and we believe it reflects the values of the whole country. And it's important that we lead with those values, and that the voices come. You know, I'm proud to be in the position of elected leadership as a mayor to fight for that and fight for the people of this community. But when people are active and they're engaged and passionate like the people of Somerville, they're fighting for something larger. And that's really important.
Thank you so much for being on the
Nice to
show.
see you.
Yeah,
It's an
nice to see
honor.
you too.